I'm going to talk to you a bit more about baby swimming, but I'm going to talk about how we're communicating with our babies. So, with no more fuss and bother, we want to look at our goals with aquatic education, and quite often these goals are going to be concerned with survival, but there are a lot of other benefits that possibly can come at the same time. So we have this situation where we're being stimulated. We're going to talk about that a bit later on, and to see how learning and development are very closely connected. And in this process, it's an excellent opportunity to be working with the bonding and doing something with the social and emotional development. And in fact, there are very knife-edge triggers here which you could affect the social and emotional development, so it could go one way or the other. So we do have survival swimming as a goal. We want to have respect for the water, but we also want to have a love for the water because it's very beneficial to us through our whole lives, also when we get old. I have more benefits now from going swimming than I have had for a long time. In fact, it's necessary for me to swim every day just to maintain my own health. So I'm going to focus today on how we make contact and how we communicate. And this is a very subtle thing. And before we work as a teacher, we need to observe the relationship between the parent and the water. We're going to see how that relationship will communicate to the child. So there's a relationship between the child and the parent when they're in the water together. And then the child, how it develops its relationship to the water. And of course, the very youngest children have a very good relationship to the water because it's not such long ago that they were encased in water in the womb. And when we're doing this observation, it's very important for the teacher to understand that they are also part of this situation that they're observing because they're affecting the situation just by their presence. If they're very close to a nervous teacher and they're leaning over the shoulder, or if they're too far back, it's going to make an effect. If they're smiling at the baby's going to be happy. If they're smiling at the parent, then the child is going to be happy because it sees that the teacher and the parent are making a bond. A lot of these things are overlooked when we observe teachers with swimming. They're there and they're going to give the program. Okay. We now know that babies have a very high level of awareness. They're observing and reacting to their surroundings the whole time. There's been a lot of work done in child psychology, child development from a very early age, and we know that they're there ready to have a communication, to have a conversation. They can register changes in their surroundings, and we also know that their reflex actions are not really reflex. They are trying to control their actions. They're already making a very strong decision to control their environment through what they're doing with their bodies. And there's a lot of research that's going on in Trondheim in Norway and in Washington, in Seattle. So some of my heroes are at that university there. Okay. So we know that they're looking for situations where they can be interactive. There we go. But we have this paradox. I call it the parental paradox because they come to the pool and they've been influenced by media especially, and also this pressure to have the cleverest child in the neighborhood. So their baby's got to be swimming by 6 months because they're going on a boating holiday. I have had people ringing me and saying that we're going boating in the summer and my baby has to be able to swim. There's no thought of, oh, maybe we'll put on a life jacket, or maybe we'll not have that boating holiday this year. And they expect the baby to be submerged as part of this education. Because they think that this is going to help it swim quicker. But at the same time, when we ask them to release the child, they cannot do it. They are fearful of the water coming in their face, so they have a reaction of holding their face back. And they are making a communication to the child that, we're in water, I'm going to put you under, but I'm not going to get near it. And very few have this water competence that Kevin and Stephen and Bob have been talking about in this conference. So we are going to do something about that. There we go. So in relation to this, I'd like to say a few words about touch. The skin is a receptor, picks up many sensations. It covers our whole body. And while we are in the water, without clothes, in a warm pool, we're receiving a lot of messages from the water. It's massaging the skin, it's applying pressure, it's warming us up because it's warm water. It's making us very comfortable. And we're skin to skin, so we're really getting this nice, soft, cuddly feeling with our baby. It's a very amazing feeling going down into the water for the first time with your 3-month-old baby in warm water. I generally hear a ah when they come down into the pool. It's very special. But at the same time, parents are giving other messages to the children because they may be holding them high up out of the water. They may be gripping them quite tightly. They may be have jerky movements. We're going to swing them about, and So all this is giving another message to the baby. But I'd like you to just look at the picture here, and I think the message is here very clear that we're happy, we're feeling the water holding us up, and the mother's just gently there stroking the baby as she's holding it, chin to chin, and we're really getting a good feeling here. So I'd like you to look at this picture. How is he feeling? What does he think about his mum doing this? And this one, you can see how she's gripping the chest. And this fellow here, he doesn't want to be there at all. And when am I going to come up? He's a bit desperate, poor chap. And I think this one's just given up. But you see that clenched fist in the left hand? That's generally a sign that they're in distress. Eyes closed, breath holding. And another thing that I've observed is that when the parents take the children back, they're holding tightly and they just press them back. Quite often you get this reaction where the child bends its hips down, is pulling his feet up. He says, no, I want to be upright. I didn't make this decision. And you get a conflict situation, the mother's laughing and he's trying to grab her face, come on, help me up. And the picture on the right-hand side, the child it's been given its ball, he's happy, that's what he wanted to play with, so that's that. We've also been given good support at the back of his neck, so you don't set the moral reflex into swing. And you see how she's holding. If he feels like bending forward and coming up into a vertical position, he can. He knows that, he can feel that from the touch. So, well, it's okay, I can lie here as long as I like. But when I want to sit up, I can do it. And it's that little nuance there. I'm sure it's the same with us adults. When we're told that, no, you can't take a glass of wine before 5 o'clock, Christine. How would you feel about that? You don't care. Okay, ice cream, butter fudge, yeah. But this is as soon as you apply restrictions, we do have a tendency to, well, not quite. Yeah. So I'm looking for something that can facilitate communication through the body. And if you've got a gentle touch, we're allowing the blood to flow through. When you're holding the baby tight, I quite often have to go around and I'm checking the fingers of the babies, or the arms even, to see the colour, because some of them are quite purple. And that's telling me that the blood flow is not reaching the fingers. So this is going to have an effect on how the baby moves. But more important, it's the thoughts and the intentions of the baby that I'm interested in, especially the facial expressions with a very young baby, movements with hands, gestures, eye movements. It tells us the direction that the baby is interested in. Or if they're not interested, when you ask the baby, oh, should we go and do this? And the baby looks away, doesn't want to do it. If we can engage with these expressions, then we can have a start of a communication. And I've put Professor Trevarthen's name here just to remind me to tell you about a wonderful video he has of a newborn baby, premature baby, who is maybe 7 or 8 hours of age. And he's with his mother, and she's holding him face to face, and she's singing a song, a children's song from her country. And it's interesting to note that all these early childhood songs, they follow a special pattern which is linked to our conversational patterns. That's by the way. But in this video, we're watching the baby, and we watched what the left hand was doing. And the left hand was doing this, but much slower. And it was following the song. And I've done music, and I know that I recognize that that's how we beat time. 1, 2, 3, 1, and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And he was doing the same thing. And it was incidental that there was a music researcher in the room at the same time, and he said that's the most sophisticated piece of conducting I've seen for many years. And that, of course, set Colin Trevarthen on a whole new course of research, which we have now read about. So later on, the baby will be using its whole body and its whole repertoire of movements. And this is important for us to remember. Come on. Sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. Yes. So in addition to this, when we have a very velvet touch, then we're just supporting the baby lightly. The baby can support itself in the water to quite a high degree just by breathing in. And if it just gently moves its head one way, we know in water that affects a rotation. It affects a change in balance. And that movement will then transfer further down the body, and the baby will do things to regain a bit of buoyancy, also that it feels more in balance. And that creates waves, it creates stimulation on the skin, and the baby is already going through a learning process of how it can use the water, how the water affects him. So the water is giving feedback, and this is something we draw attention to not just in baby swimming, but in beginner swimming, in life-saving, when we're doing under lead swimming. We want our competitors to feel how the water is giving feedback so they can swim faster, how they can do better rescues, how they can better save themselves. So can you see in the picture how delicately she's holding the child, just supporting under the arms? Now this is a very difficult thing for parents to do. Their fingers curl round and they grip that baby. 5 minutes, yeah. So we're allowing, by doing this, we're allowing firstly the communication of the baby. He can easily turn his head and say, oh, I like that ball over there. He's being able to make a choice of actions. He's making his own decisions. He is initiating activities. He's coming in control of that activity in the water. And I can tell you that each time, last autumn when I was working on this idea, the pool changed from a very quiet pool to a very rowdy area of children laughing, parents laughing, a lot of splashing. The change was quite noticeable. well, health and safety. That was one of my issues. Okay. Yeah, so we're looking for positive interactions. And at the same time, we're going to use some of the inbuilt programming here, especially with imitation. I only have 5 more minutes, so we're going to go quite fast. But one of the things we have with this communication and reciprocating the baby's ideas and desires, it will have effect later on in their emotional development. So it's very important that we remember this. So we start a conversation and we blow bubbles in the water and the baby looks, and doesn't taste too bad. And that's just one start of the conversation. The parent has to then respond and say, oh, well done, or that was good. What did it taste like? And I will go down a bit more down to my nose and say, oh, that was fine. And the baby then looks and will imitate, like this. There we go. So just holding the baby high enough up so that it can itself make the decision to bend its head. It's very important. And it's amazing. They do it. And you blow bubbles, and they do it. And I've had children falling off the mat, like that little girl's doing there, and she will blow bubbles as she hits the water, so that she blows out and comes up again, ready to take her next breath in a nice, relaxed fashion. And of course, all this is making us feel very good, all this exercise, all this skin-to-skin contact. There's a lot of chemical stuff going on. And even when we're singing, we're doing something very special to ourselves. This is another thing that Colin Trevarthen also has done research on. So the tools of the trade must be of a gentle nature. We've got to give the parents time to adapt to their aquatic environment because they're not water competent. And through giving them an understanding that the water can support you, so I do a lot of work with that, showing how I can float, then they're happy to release the babies more. So that makes a big difference. And they learn to use this eye and skin contact and communicate with their babies. So it's small steps. And as long as we can move easily and feel the result of the water, then we're going to benefit. So what we're looking for as a teacher is a good listener, not just the spoken word, but can read the body language, can get the messages that the nervous parent does. I've had parents that have hands like this, and I think, my God, that child is going to have real problems learning to swim. But be playful and unhurried. And then we get all these good things happening. We get attentive children. We get cooperative children. You know, troublesome twos, never heard of it. They want to cooperate. Playful, adventurous. And if we give them that opportunity to be adventurous, then that motivates them even more. So, all in all, I'd just like to show a very short video. And I'll thank you for your attention. And I'm just going to show how we can, from this simple hold, how we can even release the child more. And so that when the babies do take dives, they're on their parent's knee and they're going forward themselves. So they're making the decision. So just short bursts of releasing the child, and you can see how the movement changes. If they're holding on one side, there's more movement on the other. And of course the use of toys, bright-coloured toys, to encourage them even more to move. We teach them to use the side, that's their safety net. How do we use the side? We don't swim out far from the side. Always turn back and into the side again. When a baby falls into water, it just needs to turn around and clutch the side of the mat or the parent or the side of the pool. You see how we're just waiting for the child to fall forward. He's already preparing himself. And of course, we've got to do the same as the children. We've all got to go underwater. Okay, thank you.